Hello, friends, and welcome back to the Cowboys Report presented by The Guild. I'm Tom Downey. Follow me on Twitter at WhatGoingDowney for more Cowboys coverage. On Tuesday, we took you through some offensive draft options in the first and second round for this year's NFL Draft of the Dallas Cowboys. Today, we're taking to the defensive side of the ball, a couple main areas the Cowboys will look, and we'll start with the first guy on our list on a very popular mock draft option for the Dallas Cowboys, and that is one Maurice Hurst. Now, I actually don't love this fit quite as well for the Dallas Cowboys as, say, the Chargers, for example. Hurst is undersized, but he has the elite quickness you want to see. He's disruptive as all get out, but he's undersized, and he can only play the three technique. And that's where I don't like his fit with Dallas. They already have multiple three techniques. They've already got Tyrone Crawford, who plays defensive end. David Irving plays three technique. Malik Collins is a three technique. I don't think Dallas should invest another high draft pick and high volume contract on a three technique. If Hurst is on the board, they'll consider it, but I don't think it's the best use of the Cowboys picks, even though he is very much worth a top 20 pick. We'll stick on the defensive line here. How about Deron Payne, the nose guard from Alabama? You saw him against Clemson with a nice touchdown catch there. For his size, he's not the biggest guy, but he is 6'2", 310, somewhere in that range. He's very athletic for a guy of that size, and that's why I like Payne. Maybe he falls in the draft because there's one main reason. The tackle for loss and sack production was not there for Payne, and it didn't match with what we see with his athleticism. Now, maybe that's the way Alabama used him, but the tackles for loss and sacks weren't there, and we've seen in years past that those type of guys who maybe aren't ideal three-down linemen fall to rounds in the NFL draft. For example, A'Shawn Robinson, another Alabama defensive lineman. But he's a great run stuffer. I think the pass pressure upside is there. He's a great athlete. He did play with great talent, but I think Payne makes sense for the Cowboys, especially if other guys are off the board. He could also be a trade-down candidate, but I don't think he falls to the Cowboys pick in round 2, and that's why he shows there. But he is very much a backup option. Time for one of my favorite guys in this year's draft, Vita Vea. I absolutely love what he brings to the table, and I think he is the perfect fit for the Dallas Cowboys. You see the tackles for loss and the sacks. They don't do justice what he did in terms of pressuring the pocket last year. He is the rare 340-pound, three-down nose guard. You do not find those guys at this level. He is a great athlete. I think there's a chance, by the way, he runs a sub-5-second 40-yard dash, which would be incredible. And if that actually happens, I worry he won't fall to the Cowboys in round 1. But he is the top defensive tackle in this year's class for me. His technique needs some work. He disappears at times. I'm a little worried about his short arms. But I think if the Cowboys don't let Rod Marinelli dictate what they do on the defensive line of the draft, you will see them look for a guy like Vita Vea. Rod Marinelli has not valued nose guards highly, and we've seen that based on the way the Cowboys have added and addressed the position in recent years. But if you can get Vita Vea with Rod Marinelli, even just for a year, I think Vea becomes one of the best nose guards in the NFL very quickly. He is a three-down guy, a perfect fit for the Cowboys' Deacon defense. You put him in at the nose guard, you put David Irving on one side, and then you put DeMarcus Lawrence on the other, and that defensive line is loaded when it comes to rushing the passer. Vita Vea is on the board at number 19. I really hope the Cowboys decide to take him. Let's go to the linebacker spot now, and we mentioned Roquan Smith earlier in the show. He's not going to be there. Rashaan Evans also an option, but I think the Cowboys are going to fall in love with Tremaine Edmunds, if they haven't already, by the way. Great production last year, 14 tackles for loss. He's just 19 years old. That is incredibly young, and he won't turn 20 until after the NFL draft. That's insane to think about. He is an incredible athlete, and he can play every single linebacker spot. Now, he is still raw, tends to play a little bit too fast, maybe not the best in coverage, but you're taking him because you go, okay, he's 19 now. Let's give him 2 years in the NFL. How is he going to be entering his third year when he's 21, 22 years old? That upside is immense for Edmunds. I don't know if he lasts to the Cowboys pick, but if he does, he very much fits the mold of what the Cowboys want in their linebackers. If he lasts, he could very well be the selection. About to the back four now, and the Cowboys won't go cornerback early. They've spent too many picks there, but they could go safety. And that brings us to Derwin James. Now, Minkah Fitzpatrick is not going to be there, but a guy like Derwin James might be on the board. And James is an interesting prospect for me because he had that great first year at FSU, and then he got hurt, and then he had this year. And Derwin James is an incredible athlete. He's a great leader. The upside is there for him to be the best safety in this year's class by far. But the weaknesses I'm not quite as confident about as, say, like a Vita. He is best in the box right now, which is fine. That's how some safeties are. Didn't make a ton of plays on the ball, just a handful of interceptions. Didn't have a true position last year either. He was very much the Viper type guy, just kind of roamed around the defense. And you think about that. Best in the box, limited plays on the ball, no true position. Kind of sounds like Jabril Peppers, and that's who Derwin James kind of reminds me of in certain facets of his game. I think he's just as good an athlete. He has better ball skills and is bigger overall, but I think that's what Derwin James is. I think right now he is a box safety who has the upside to be an Eric Berry type, but as of right now, I think you don't draft Derwin James to be a free safety. You draft him to be a strong safety, and then you work his way up to being that free safety position. Brings us to a reaction poll. Which defensive player do you most want on the Cowboys? A heart if you're like me and you want Vita. A like if you want Derwin James. A wow face if you want linebacker Tremaine Edmonds. And a laughing face if it's somebody else altogether. And let me know who in the comments section. We'll respond to some of those here in just a second. Here are the 5 guys I pegged as potential first-round picks for the Cowboys on defense. Maurice Hurst, Deron Payne, Vita Vea, my boy, Tremaine Edmonds, and Derwin James. All right, folks, once again, I'm Tom Downey. Follow me on Twitter at WhatGoingDowney for more Cowboys coverage. Those were the first-round options. Let's get to some of these second-round options for the Dallas Cowboys in this year's NFL Draft. We'll go back to the defensive line. How about Derek Nandi, the defensive tackle from Florida State? Got great strength, even though he's not the biggest guy. He's about 6 foot, 6'1", 315, but he fits as that nose guard type. Now, 10 tackles for loss for that is very impressive. Only 3.5 sacks, but he is undersized, and there are general questions about his pass rushing ability. I'm not quite as concerned. I think he'd be a great fit in round 2, but you could see him slide a little bit more if teams don't think he can actually be a 3-down defensive tackle. Let's get to linebacker now. How about Leighton Vander, Esch, the inside linebacker from Boise State? Incredibly productive this year. 141 tackles, a bunch of pass breakups and sacks, everything you could possibly want. But he has just the 1 year as a starter, and despite having solid size, he doesn't always do the best job of shedding blockers, so he's a little raw, needs some work in building up his play strength, but he has good size, was super productive, and there is some buzz he could test really well at the NFL Combine. If he does, Vander Esch could leap into the first round and maybe even be an option for the Cowboys at number 19 overall. With Malik Jefferson, it is the athlete in him, and that's what teams are going to love. That's why he actually could go in the first round. He's got all the traits you want to see in a linebacker. He's got the speed, the athleticism. He's shown he can cover, he can blitz, he can do a little bit of it all. But the traits and the athleticism doesn't match up with what we've seen. The tackles were there this year, but it was a big jump over the previous years. And this year in particular, Jefferson was allowed to just attack instead of having to react. And when he's forced to react, Jefferson isn't quite as good. He is still more of an athlete than a player. The upside is definitely there. He'd be a great second-round pick. I think he's best as a weak side linebacker or a 3-4 inside linebacker. He can blitz as well. So this is a guy that teams are going to fall in love with and say, oh, we can make him into a great linebacker. I don't know if he's quite there yet when it comes to all the other stuff outside of being a great athlete. My comp for him, although I think he's better, I think he's a Stephon Anthony type. He's going to measure really well at the Combine, and he was a highly touted recruit coming out of high school, but I don't know if it's quite all clicked quite yet from Malik Jefferson. Let's get back to the secondary, and this is a guy I think is actually going to be a little bit divisive in the scouting community. The ball skills are there. 6 interceptions, 9 pass breakups. That's what you want. Elliott has great ball skills. He can play in the box. He's a solid frame. He can do it all. But there are serious concerns about his speed and ability to cover guys. And I am willing to buy into DeShon Elliott, but I think you'll see some guys say, hey, he is a first or second round pick, and you'll see some that say, no, he is a day 3 pick at best because they don't think he can be a free safety. I see the ball skills. I get excited. I am willing to take a shot on him. Now, my fear is he ends up as like an Ed Reynolds type guy, but I think Marcus Williams might be a little bit better comp for DeShon Elliott as we sit right now. The Combine will be big for Elliott. One more safety. How about Ronnie Harrison, the safety from Alabama? He's a combo safety. He can play free safety and strong safety. He produced at Alabama. Now, he's not always the most patient guy, doesn't always wrap up as well, and we'll get to our list here in just a second to recap all these guys for you. But with Ronnie Harrison, he can play free safety, he can play strong safety. I don't think he goes in round 1, but I think in round 2, he's a strong option. Maybe he has some George Iloka in him in terms of a player comparison. So here are the 5 guys Dallas could take in round 2 on defense, unless somebody really slides to him. Derek Nandi, Leighton Vander, Esch, Malik Jefferson, DeShon Elliott, and Ronnie Harrison.